The lighting's weird. Sorry. It's nighttime. It's dark, and the lighting in here is always weird. Even in broad daylight, the lighting in here is weird. But I'm doing my best here. Hang on a second. How about this? Yeah, that's a good look for me, isn't it? So, hi folks. Time for another video. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Let me put this over here. Well, whatever. It's as good as it's gonna get. I'm starting off 2024 with a bang, don't you think? Exciting things to do and say already. Oh, by the way, hello. This is my first video of 2024 and you're already asleep. Thank you for coming. No, seriously, I hope you had a good new year and yeah, I hope everything's going well. Thanks for joining me as always. It was a fun year last year. I pumped out a lot of videos. I don't foresee that happening again this year, but I don't know. Maybe it will. Who knows? I am here to talk about one of my favorite bands, Ween, and that's all I'm doing tonight. I'm talking. I'm going to create a discussion. I am not showing any records tonight. In fact, I will probably be not showing records most of the time from here on out. The numbers are there, the analytics are there. Me showing things and me not showing things makes zero difference in terms of how many people watch my videos. So, and that makes sense to me. I don't think people come here to stare at records. They come here for discussion and making comments and having a community about the records and music that we love. So, yeah, I'm not going to be showing records much anymore. It's just kind of it's time consuming for me. It's a pain in the ass, and most people don't care. A couple people do, but sorry if you're one of the if you're those people. Sorry, I'm just not going to be showing records anymore. It's I don't know. I've talked about this before, how I feel about it. I've never felt 100% about it. And yeah, I'm not going to be showing them anymore. It's about discussion and it's about our passion for music. And if that's not enough for people, then they can go away. That's how I look at it. So, anyway, welcome. You're going to watch me drink water now. That's what you subscribe for, isn't it? I want to watch a dude with a scruffy beard drink water. Hey, I've seen more boring shit on YouTube, okay? There's a lot of ridiculous crap out there. And yeah, it's just a quiet night. I just got home and it's really cold here in the Pacific Northwest. It's cold as a witch's cunt. And believe me, I know how cold a witch's cunt is. I've fucked many a witch in my day. But let's get to Ween, shall we? With that, let's get to Ween. As always, all I can do with Ween is talk about my own personal story and my journey with this band. By the way, I've got my Ween shirt on, as you can see, or maybe not see. I put it on for this video because, why wouldn't I? If only you could see it. Again, another great reason that you subscribe to me, my dazzling video equipment and my high-tech audio equipment. That's not too annoying, is it? How about I do that for a few more minutes? Anyone who just stumbled on my channel is like, what the fuck? Why did I even click on this? This is the most ridiculously stupid channel I've ever seen. You're right, it is. Bye. Thanks for trying. Not tonight. Later. My personal experience with Ween. So, let's see. The first time I heard Ween was Push the Little Daisies. I think if those of you who grew up when I grew up, if you were a teenager in the mid or the early 90s, that might have been your intro to them. That was their first big hit, one of their only really big hits. Real, anything you ever heard on the radio in terms of hits. That was their that was their first and one of their only hits to be on the radio. I thought it was I thought it was horrible, awful, and I still do. In fact, I think that entire album is shit. Still, even today, Pure Guava. I'm talking about Pure Guava. You know that. You Ween fans out there know. I thought it was one of the most annoying, novelty, lame, cheap, stupid songs I'd ever heard in my life. And at the time, I didn't understand Ween, so it just pissed me off. I heard it and I was like, "What is this?" Like, of course this would be popular because people are stupid and they like dumb stuff, and top 40 radio is dumb for the most part, and this is horrible. And it didn't surprise me in that way, even back then when I was younger. But it was their big hit, "Push the Little Daisies" on Pure Guava. And I remember listening to Pure Guava. That was right around the time I started DJing. I'd been DJing for a couple of years when that album came out. That album came out in 92, right? I want to say 1992. And I heard it. I kind of was on a different tip. I was on a different vibe. I listened to a lot of dance music primarily at that time, but I still loved music in general. And I heard Pure Guava and I just thought it stunk. I never wanted to listen to it again. And I've listened to it again over, I don't know, over the last 30 years, 32 years now, and it just doesn't hit me. It still doesn't. So that was my intro to Ween. My initial thought was, this is a joke band. They are putting us on. Cake, the band Cake didn't exist then, but in hindsight, that's kind of what it sounded like to me. It was like this dumb, jokey, hokey, shitty band with no talent. They just were trying to present some kind of joke that I didn't get, and whatever. I don't want to be part of that, and I'm never listening to this again. So I dismissed them back in 1992. I didn't want to hear any more of it. I'd had enough. No more Ween. Well, a couple years later, in fact, I think I saw it on MTV. I saw the video for, I think it was Freedom of 76. And I was taken with it. I didn't like it. And even to this day, I still don't really like it. That's Ween's funny that way. And I'm going to expand my thought, obviously, on this band because I love Ween, and that's why I'm here, and I'm hopefully that's why you're here. But I heard Freedom of 76, and it struck me as it was, what struck me is it was completely different from Push the Little Daisies. I was like, this is Ween? Okay. So even though I didn't like that song very much, it struck me. It was like, this is way different than how I remember Ween. This isn't at all what I remember. But I really liked it. It caught my attention. Let me just put it that way. In the fact that it was different. I didn't really like it, but it was different. And so shortly thereafter, it was Voodoo Lady, right? The other single from Chocolate and Cheese. And Chocolate and Cheese came out in '94. I saw the video for Voodoo Lady on MTV, and I liked that song a little better. Again, I didn't love it. I didn't love it. But once again, it was like tips of a triangle. You had Push the Little Daisies, and then you had Freedom of 76. In terms of sound, in terms of approach, even in terms of vocalization and stuff, you had Freedom of 76, and then you had Push the Little Daisies, and then you had Voodoo Lady down here. It's like if you heard those three songs, you wouldn't necessarily think it was even the same band. And as I've always talked about on this channel, I really love that. I love that with a band that kind of keep you guessing. Like, really? This is the same group? These are the same people that did that? And right around that time, I got a copy of Chocolate and Cheese through one of my DJ pools. It came out on Grand Royal. At least the copy I have is on Grand Royal, which was Beastie Boys' label. And I loved the Beastie Boys at the time. So uh, I got all the promo stuff that came out with Grand Royal. So I got a promo copy of Chocolate and Cheese. I still have it to this day. It's the records sound pretty good. I remember that it's a double album, and one record has a printed inner sleeve, and then the other one doesn't. It has a generic paper sleeve. So I always thought that was interesting. That stuck out of my mind, at least physically. But I thought, okay, I'm going to listen to this record. I hated Pure Guava, and I know I'm going to hate Chocolate and Cheese, but I just want to check this out because it sounds different. The minute I dropped the needle down on chocolate and cheese, I was blown away. That was the moment, and it's been 30 fucking years now. It's amazing to think about that. 1994 is 30 years ago. I dropped the needle down. I was blown away. I couldn't believe how good it was from the first time I heard it. And in my opinion, Freedom of 76 and Voodoo Lady are the worst songs on that album. I thought every other song on the album was way, way better. I was so impressed with what I was hearing. I was like, this can't be the same band from what I heard on Pure Guava. So I to this day I still feel the same way ultimately that I did back in 1994, 30 years ago. I was so impressed with not only their delivery of the music but their songwriting abilities and how they had this weird talent to, and they still do. Obviously they could write a goofy song, but then like the song after it would be so lush and intricate and so well written, and the vocals would be beautiful and the lyrics would be really deep and the musicianship was amazing. But then the next song would be some jokey dopey song, but like that's something that kind of grows on you, right? Like, you Ween fans know what I'm talking about. It's a hard thing to describe with this band, but you overthink it. When you stop thinking about what Ween is and why their music sounds so different, you just start to realize like they have all kinds of influences. Ween's not busy thinking about it. Gene and Dean aren't busy, fretting over, you know, why it sounds the way it does. They just have all kinds of disparate influences and bands and music that they love, and they plaster it all on a record. I didn't get it. That's why that was my problem, obviously. But over the years, I have grown to love this band because every album they do is completely different. But the one thing that's always the same is their music is completely unpredictable. You never know which way it's heading, which way it's coming, which way it's going. You have no clue, and that's part of the fun of it. It's a formula that's really very simple when you stop and you think about it. They're just making music. I think the listeners, some of the listeners like myself who want to kind of critique it and look at it with a microscope. It's hard. I think those people end up not liking Ween because they want to have some through line. They want to understand the band. But that's not what it's about. With Ween, you just kind of have to sit down and let them take over. And that's what I learned with Ween. And they're one of those bands that have helped me understand music in a lot of ways. That may sound corny, but it's true. What Ween has done for me is they've helped me stop analyzing music so much and just to let it take you. Don't sit down and study this shit too much because you're going to be disappointed. With chocolate and cheese, the moment I heard it, those gears in my brain were turning. Gears that I hadn't really used before. Maybe they're a little rusty and starting to work a little bit. But chocolate and cheese helped me think about music in a different way. It truly did. I couldn't to this day I still can't believe how good that record is. It's hard to it's hard to say what my favorite Ween album is. I think a lot of Ween fans feel this way. On some days it could be chocolate and cheese. On some days it could be um, 12 Country Greats. It could on another day it could be the Mollusk. On another day it could be Quebec. It just depends on the day. And I'll talk about those albums too because I love those albums as well. But Chocolate and Cheese was the gateway. That was the moment where I was like, "Holy shit, man! I had this band all wrong." Whatever I was hearing on Pure Guava, I am not hearing it here. I don't know. I mean, a little bit. There's a couple of goofy songs, but it, to this day, Ween's kind of hard to understand, and that's what I love about them. I think to Dean and Gene, they're just kind of like they're just doing their thing. Like, well, we love country music and we love pop music and we love this and we love that, and we're putting it all on a record. Pretty simple. Their lyrics can get really goofy, we know that. But then, yeah, they can. After the goofiness, all of a sudden, this really deep song will hit you, and I'm like, wow. At least that's how I feel about Ween. I love the thing I love about Ween the most is I still feel like I don't really understand them, and That's a great thing, man. When you've got a band that continues to kind of confound normality and confound your own expectations, that's brilliant. And usually, for me personally, I only hear that with electronic music. You don't really hear that in rock music so much, which I think Ween generically is. They're a rock band, but rock bands usually tend to follow a very linear path. It's the same thing, album in and album out, year in and year out. They do the same thing. Not with Ween. Ween's like you listen to one of their records and it's like it covers so many different genres and moods and feelings and approaches. You're like, what the fuck's going on? You feel schizophrenic. You're like, what's happening? But I like that, and that's what I love about Ween the most. But again, what underneath all that is this insane talent to write songs. This insane talent of being good musicians. I mean, I can't believe the guitar work from Mikey or Mickey. Is it Mickey? I always forget Mickey, Mikey. His guitar playing is insane. He's one of the greatest guitar players I've ever heard. I don't know if he's underrated or not. Do people generally consider him to be a great guitarist? I don't know. Aaron Freeman is a beautiful songwriter. Some of the shit they do, it blows my mind. Some of the stuff they do is just so goofy and throwaway that it kind of you have those moments where you're like, really, this is the same group? But then they come back and they like on Chocolate and Cheese. I'm looking at the track listing right here. Some of the songs I don't like as much, like Spinal Meningitis, great. Freedom 76, Can't Put My Finger on It. Can't Put My Finger on It's okay. Not one of my favorite songs on here. A Tear for Eddie. How gorgeous is that song? It's an instrumental, but it's beautiful. Roses Are Free. That's one of the weaker songs on there. Baby Bitch. Arguably one of their best songs. Am I right about this? Mister, would you please help my pony? That's what I'm talking about. So you go from Baby Bitch, which is a really deeply emotional song when you listen to the lyrics. To me, that's one of the best songs about breakup I've ever heard in my life. Like a very deep, sad, emotional song. And then it goes, Mister, would you please help my pony right after that? Which is just a goof. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. Drifter in the Dark, Voodoo Lady. Joppa Road, love that song. That's one of my favorite songs on there. Buenas Tardes, Amigo. That's one of those songs that I think it jumps from being a really goofy song to being a beautiful song. That's one of the few times where Ween kind of does both. It's goofy, but it's beautiful. It's a great song. HIV song, not my favorite. What Diener Was Talking About, one of my favorite Ween songs. I That to me is a classic Aaron Freeman track, and you can hear. I've seen in his interviews over the years that he's a huge Beatles fan, and they both are. They always were. But sometimes you hear Aaron Freeman really tapping into that Beatles influence. The guy can write a song, man. And what Diener was talking about is one of those instances. It's so catchy. The minute you hear it, it's one of those songs that when I hear it, I'll listen to it over and over back to back. It's so fucking catchy. His voice is perfect. It's a really short song, but it's just that probably part of the reason why I need to hear it over and over when I do hear it. It's like it's so short. I need to hear more of this, you know. Um, One of my favorite songs, "Don't Shit Where You Eat." Great song, kind of a loungy song. But that's what I'm talking about. I'm looking at the track listing here. You get lounge, you get you get flamenco type stuff with Buenos Tardes Amigo. You get rock, you get pop, you get some metal in here. They're brilliant. So from the moment I heard this album, I knew it was something special. And I didn't think when I heard Chocolate and Cheese, I was so impressed that I didn't think they could ever top it. I think they did though. The album that came after that in 1996, right? Let me look this up. I'm looking this up here. Yeah, 96, 2 years later. 12 Golden Country Greats. Now, I love this album. I honestly think this is one of Ween's greatest works. There are some days I think it is their best album. Some of the songs like don't piss up a rope, songs like that are just so funny and goofy. But then you've got songs like I'm Holding You, um, Pretty Girl, Powder Blue. I mean, these are beautiful songs, and yeah, they're country songs. And they love country. Why would they, in Ween's world? Why would you not make a country album? It's exactly what nobody expected. I love that about Ween. I'm going to take a drink real quick. After Chocolate and Cheese, who would have guessed? I remember at the time I wouldn't have guessed it. 12 country golden, or 12 golden. I always say country golden. 12 golden country greats. Who would have thought? I certainly didn't see that coming. But deep respect for them. When that came out, it was exactly what I wasn't expecting. I was like, oh wow, yeah, this is awesome. Like, what are they going to do next? It was, it was a crapshoot. That's part of the fun of being a Ween fan. Like from album to album, you don't know what the fuck they're going to do. Who knows? Oh, Japanese Cowboy. Yeah, I'm looking at the Mr. Richard Smoker. I guess that's the one song. I mean, that's not really a country song. They're going into loungy, more lounge territory there, I think. Beautiful album though. The artists they brought in, the personnel on this record are like real country guys. They took it seriously. Like, oh, people hear Ween and think they're just joking around, but you can't say that when you listen to the music. It's like, yeah, the lyrics are funny, but when you hear the instrumentation and the arrangements, you're like, this is brilliant. This is fucking amazing. Uh, the lyrics may be goofy, but you can't argue with their artistry on these records. The songwriting and the musicianship is top notch. The production, the mixing, everything. Beautiful. 12 Golden Country Greats is a great album. By the way, I would love to hear what you guys consider to be your Ween favorites. I love talking to Ween fans because everyone has a different favorite Ween album. And as I mentioned before, it kind of depends in what mood I'm in, what day it is, what my favorite Ween album is. It'll depend. It just depends. By the way, I'm backtracking here. I'm looking. I've got their albums pulled up here in front of me. The Pod. I've never been able to listen to that. Their super early stuff is hard for me to listen to. There's a couple of decent, like the Pod has pork roll, egg and cheese. I don't really like the original version. I like the version on the Live from Chicago album actually, and honestly, that's one of my favorite albums from them in general. Anyway, is the Live in Chicago album. I did see them on that tour, by the way. I didn't see that show. I wasn't at that show, but I did. That was the first time I saw them live. I'd been meaning to see them at that point for a while, obviously, because that was the Mollusk tour, right? Yeah. Then I saw them. That's the Live from Chicago album, right? That was their Mollusk tour. I don't know. I don't remember. It's been a long time, guys. I don't know. Is that 25 years ago? I want to say I saw them in 99, 2000 or something. It was after the Mollusk, which, by the way, is the next album I will talk about. That is many Ween fans' favorite album, I think. I think I'm correct in saying that. And I totally understand. The Mollusk is perfect in its insanity. It is a beautiful record, and I think most days I would say the Mollusk is my favorite. It is a gorgeous record. They cover everything. Every little genre you could think of on that album is just pulled together perfectly, and they execute with absolute precision. The Mollusk, there's not a bad moment on that record. It's hard for me to pick a favorite song. Uh, well, let me look at it. The songs that come out that all automatically come out are like the Mollusk, the song "The Mollusk." It's hard to argue with the brilliance of that song. But I also love here. I'm going to look up. It came out in '97, right? Johnny on the Spot. Love Johnny on the Spot. The Blarney Stone. Hilarious, hilarious song. Dean sings that one. Dean, most songs he sings on are completely fucking goofy, and that's definitely one of them. And that song is an absolute riot. I listen to that song every St. Patrick's Day. Always puts me in a good mood. Absolutely hilarious. Cold Blows the Wind. Beautiful song. Um, Waving My Dick in the Wind, Buckingham Green. Come on. The Mollusk. What's your favorite Mollusk track? I dare you to pick one. They're all so good. But from what I've seen over the years, this is the album that people go to. Everyone always says it's their favorite, and I think most days it probably is. The record I have of the Mollusk is on Mushroom Records. Yeah, it's a UK press. And oh shit. Wow. Sorry, I'm looking at the prices. Holy crap. Wow. Wait a minute. I gotta see this. Okay, original vinyl copy of this is selling for between $300 and $400. Wow. Okay. Damn. Wow. I love it when I find out a record that I have in my collection is worth money like that. The Mullet. Have they not repressed this? Are you kidding me? How have they not repressed this? How does that even happen? Sorry, guys. I'm curious here. Oh, here we go. Oh, plain recordings. Okay, guys. Avoid plain recordings. Never buy something on plain recordings, even if it's a rare record. I'm interested to see what these are. God, these are going for $100. But you got people. If you're paying any more than $5 for a plain records press, you're getting robbed. Okay. Oh wow, 150. Jesus. They need to repress this thing. Holy crap. People, plain recordings is a bootleg presser. Their pressings are shit. They're garbage. They master that shit from like old bad CDs and tapes and stuff. Like you don't want anything to do with them, trust me. Yeah, I'm really surprised that these are selling for that much money. Huh. Okay. Well, anyway, goes to show how popular this record is. Hopefully they repress this because $400 is way too much money to be spending. God, I can't believe that. Okay, I know the vast majority of you are bored, but I didn't look up these other ones. Let me look up how much. I'm gonna peruse the value of my own vinyl collection during this video because that'll be exciting for you. Chocolate and cheese. Oh shit! See now the original Grand Royal press of chocolate. Oh wow! Good God! Wow. 300 to 400 bucks. God, mine's in better condition than these too. Wow. Okay. So my Ween collection is a little gold mine. All right, I'll take it. 12 my 12 country greats album has like a little shirt transfer in it. And I want to see if that's here. That's got to be worth something, right? Let's see. I never use the shirt transfer because as you know, I like to keep all my shit together. Here we go. Here it is. Yep. 200 to 300 bucks. Ween needs reprices. They absolutely need these. Wow, that's crazy. Okay. Well, anyway. Um, yeah, I saw them on tour for the Mollusk. The Mollusk is a great album. We all know that. Is it your favorite? Most days it's mine. It is really just a perfect album. Right. Their next album, White Pepper, came in 2000. I think most Whedon fans feel similar about that album. Has some brilliant moments, but for the most part, it's good. It's good. It doesn't arouse the excitement that the previous three albums did for me, at least. There's some great moments on here, of course. Even if you don't, Bananas and Blow, Patty Fackler, She's Your Baby. I mean, there's some great songs on here. It's not a perfect album. I think it's a little spotty. That's an album I don't listen to a lot, though, of Ween's. It is what it is. Um, See, this makes me see. It says Live in Chicago came out in 2004, but they recorded that on the Mollusk tour, didn't they? If someone's watching this, please leave a comment. I could have sworn the Live in Chicago album came from the Mollusk tour, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe it was White Pepper, because I feel like I saw them in 2000, so maybe it was the White Pepper tour. Yeah, it must have been if I saw them in 2000. I did. I think I saw them in 2000. So anyway, this leads me to the next album, which on many, many days is my favorite Ween album, and that's Quebec. That came out in 2003 now, which is nuts to me. I cannot believe it's been out that long. Wow. Yeah. 2003, over 20 years ago. How do you feel about Quebec? I feel very, very, very warmly about Quebec. This, like the Mollusk before it, is a dangerously perfect album. And by the way, side note, look up on YouTube the Caesar demos, okay? It never got an official release. I'm trying to remember what the controversy was. I think who released, was it Dean? I think Dean released all these unreleased demos from the Quebec sessions, and then Gene got pissed off because he did it without his approval. Am I getting this right? Dean released them. Gene got pissed off. Am I right about this? There's a really funny song on there called uh, "Why Don't You Go Shit in Your Hat, Matt?" My name's Matt, so and I one of my best friends' names is Matt. So we heard that song when those demos got released, and we are like, dude, this is like our song. This is the perfect song. Go Shit in Your Hat, Matt, which is a great song, by the way. It could have been on the album. I don't know why it wasn't. It makes you wonder how many unreleased little gems that Ween have. But Quebec is a great album. It's a beautiful album. Again, I think in a lot of ways, I feel like it's their most cohesive and mature album, whatever that means for Ween. I I've always felt like the albums they put out after Quebec were nowhere near as good. They wouldn't they would never be as good as they were on Quebec again. I felt like they just kind of they made Chocolate and Cheese and Country Greats and the Mollusk and then Quebec. I mean, White Pepper was in there obviously, but I'm talking about four albums that were absolutely brilliant. They were never that brilliant again, in my opinion. Quebec came and then they kind of trickled off. And they're still around, of course. They're still touring and doing the reunion tours and stuff like that. But Quebec was the last album they did that was utterly brilliant. And I can't think of a bad song on here, Zoloft. My favorite songs on here are Among His Tribe. Love Among His Tribe. Again, Aaron Freeman songs. He's released some solo stuff, which oddly enough, he doesn't do his own stuff. He sings other people's stuff, like Rod McEwen, his first solo album, which is brilliant, by the way. Marvelous Clouds. It's an album of Rod McEwen covers. I love Rod McEwen. Who doesn't? If you don't know Rod McEwen, you need to go look him up. But I think Freeman's Freeman's obsession with the Beatles really shows up on Quebec, I think. Some of his most beautifully written songs are all on Quebec. I think Among His Tribe is one of them. Tried and True is another one. Absolutely gorgeous song. Tried and True. Beautiful stuff. And Chocolate Town. Those three songs, I think Among His Tribe, Tried and True, and Chocolate Town. Just gorgeous, gorgeous songs. The whole album is great. But for me, it's those three songs that kind of hold it together. They're the glue of that album. Other great songs, I mean, the Argus, Hey There Fancy Pants is one of those goofy songs. Um, Transdermal Celebration, So Many People in the Neighborhood. I mean, there's not a bad moment on here. How do you feel about Quebec? I would love to know what your favorites are, people. Tell me. That's the fun of being a Ween fan, I think, is, just figuring out which is your favorite album. Like, Ween could never have a greatest hits, I don't think. I was thinking about this at one point. And I thought, how would you ever make a greatest hits Ween album? You couldn't do it. You'd be leaving something out. The only way to have their greatest hits is to have all the albums. That's it. Other than Pure Guava, and I'm sorry, I can't get behind that album. Real quick. I want to see what Quebec's selling for. Oh my God, Jesus! What? Wow, $400. All right, that is crazy, man. Hmm. Do I need my Ween records that badly? Jeez, I don't think I do. I'm gonna be seriously considering selling my Ween collection, people. Okay, well, anyway, um, I'm looking at their albums. I mean, they really only had um, yeah, they had Shinola Volume One. I mean, their next, I think their next and really their final album was La Cucaracha, of like all new material, and that album for me does not work, man. I've always felt that album is a real mess. I mean, I shouldn't. Maybe it's not a complete mess. There are a couple of decent tracks on here, but for the most part, La Cucaracha has never really worked for me. I felt like they were almost trying too hard to be Ween. Like Ween stepped outside themselves, and they were. I don't know. Something had been lost. Maybe I'm completely out of bounds saying this. I would love to hear your comments and opinions about this, but La Cucaracha, I don't know, man. In terms of albums that they put out after Chocolate and Cheese, La Cucaracha is one that I have hardly revisited. I think I've only listened to that album 3 or 4 times in my life. I haven't. I've never been able to get into it. It's just one of those albums that I felt like they were. It didn't. It didn't seem easy anymore. It seemed like they were trying really hard to be this Ween product that everyone expected them to be, and it just didn't really work for me. That's the one album post Chocolate and Cheese that I can't get behind. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up with that. It's almost 40 minutes into this, but I could talk about Ween all night. Mainly wanted to get the conversation started. I haven't done a video in a couple weeks either, and I had some stuff to say. I've been listening to Ween a lot lately, and you know, people wouldn't know this about me, but 90% of what I listen to is mainly experimental music, electronic music, and jazz, and just psychedelic stuff. I don't normally listen to music like this. So for me to love like a band that might be considered to be a traditional rock band, which I don't think Ween essentially is, but I think a lot of people think of them that way. For me to like a band like Ween it's just unusual for me. And like I said before, what I love about Ween is what I like about a lot of experimental music in general is that there's like there's a point when you're listening to this music where you misjudged it. I love music where when you first heard it you weren't understanding it. The problem was you. It wasn't the music. Like with me, with Ween, I was the problem. I wasn't getting it. That was my fault. When I sat down and listened, it was like, holy crap, what is going on? These guys are fucking geniuses. I really feel that about Ween. I truly do. I normally reserve that for people like Marvin Gaye and Autechre and Aphex Twin and Can and music that doesn't sound like Ween. But I think Dean and Gene are legitimate geniuses. These guys figured out a niche that no one else was filling, and they delivered like no band has ever delivered. And I also wanted to point this out before I turn off here. Ween is a different band live. That was another aspect to them. When I first saw Ween in 2000, I was expecting them to just kind of recreate their album tracks as they were heard on the album. No, 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 no. When you see Ween live, and you guys who go to Ween shows know this, they are a completely fucking different entity. It's amazing how good this band is. All of them. Not just Dean and Gene, but the people, their rhythm section, their drummer, I forget his name. Their drummer is fucking amazing. Let me get his Claude Coleman. This guy is one of the most amazing drummers I've ever seen. You go see these guys live, and it's like, what? You wouldn't even know this again. You wouldn't know this was the same band after listening to their album versions, and because they can get very technical on their albums. Like they're very much, in a lot of ways, not always, but in a lot of ways, they're very much a studio band. Lots of effects, lots of edits, lots of feedback. You can tell that they're really involved in the production. You go see them live, and their live versions are completely different, and they are so impressive live. Especially Dean's guitar playing. Holy crap! I mean, again, I think he's one of the most underrated guitar players out there. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's rated right where he needs to be. But I've never seen a lot of people giving him the credit I think he deserves. He's an amazing fucking guitar player. When I went and saw Ween live, I already loved the band, but when I saw him live, I was like, wow. Like who is this band? It just built the mystique for me. And that's one of the really fun things about being a Ween fan is there's mystique there. Because they've had a lot of issues personally. Like Aaron Freeman, he was an alcoholic and a druggie, and he had, what was it? Was it up in Canada like 12 or 13, 14 years ago? He passed out on stage and the band just walked off, left him on stage alone, like on the ground, drooling on himself, and the band split up, and then they got back together, and then they split up again. And I remember wasn't there. I feel like there was more legal trouble at some point. I don't remember, but they've definitely had their personal issues. They're back together again to perform live. I don't think I saw them live in the last few years, and I think something's missing. It was a good show. Maybe it's just because they're older now. I don't know, but I felt like there was something missing. I think that what's missing dearly is that they're not writing new music. I really hope at some point they can dig deep and get into themselves and try to find another album there, because it would be really exciting for them to put out another album and then tour that. I get bored with these reunion tours. It's these greatest hits tours are boring to me. And that's one of the most exciting things about Ween, in my opinion, is that they always delivered something new. Their albums were always something new, completely new experience. So the fact that they haven't really put out new material in well over a decade is not only disappointing, but it makes me lose a little interest in going to see them live. Because I've seen them live a number of times, and I'm at a point now where I'm like, I don't know that I need to go see them. Especially the last time I saw them a few years ago, it just seemed like the energy was off. Something was off. By the way, have you ever noticed Aaron Freeman looks different in every picture you ever see him in? Every time I see a photo of him, whether it's new or old, it's like, oh, he looks totally different here. Oh, he looks totally different there. Oh, he looks totally different there. He always looks different. He's like this chameleon. He's always looking different. I always thought he looked like Roland Orzabal from Tears for Fears. What do you think? I remember back in the 90s, I saw pictures of him. I'm like, oh, he looks like the guy from Tears for Fears. It's a compliment. I mean, it's an interesting looking guy. But anyway, he always looks different. That's just, I don't know, that's a different side note, I guess. But anyway, Ween. We love them. We cherish them. Personally, I love most of their music. Some of their music is so bad I can't even listen to it. That's the beautiful thing about a band, though, to me. When a band is truly trying different things and new things and trying to challenge themselves, I don't think it's possible to like everything they do. That's a good thing, man. That's healthy. And Ween's one of the best at that. They were always doing something different. They got a little goofy, but when they wanted to sit down and write a beautiful track, man, I mean, tried and true. Come on, songs don't get much more beautiful than tried and true. Or Among His Tribe. I mean, good lord, these are beautiful songs, people. So let's keep cherishing and loving Ween. Let's hope that they make some new material. That would be fucking fantastic if they did that. And that is my Ween video. I hope you enjoyed it. That is my experience with Ween in a very truncated version, a 45-minute version. Again, I could go on about this band all day. Love these guys. But I've been listening to them a lot lately. And yeah, I wanted to get my thoughts out about them. And I would love to hear what you guys have to say. What your favorites are from them, their songs, your favorite albums, your favorite periods of Ween. Let me know. I'd love to hear it. Let's get a conversation rolling if you're so inclined to join in with me on the beautifully exquisite discussion that is Ween. Until next time.